that too.
Live.
Hello world, and welcome to the House of Moyet, a very special edition of EverTalk Live. I'm your host, Jezlan Moyet, and I am here to bring you a unique shopping show like no other. My goal, of course, is to entertain, educate, and of course, shop by sharing the stories behind the products I know you're going to want to check out on Amazon. We're able to bring you these discoveries, special thanks to the production and team at EverTalk TV, America's first live streaming video talk show network, from our studio right here in West Hollywood, California. EverTalk has invited members of their community who participate in the Amazon Influencer Program to share the stories of people that inspire them and highlight the products they feel really make a positive difference in people's lives. Of course, I personally want to thank both Amazon Live and EverTalk TV for giving me this platform, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to bring value to my community of followers and, of course, do a little shopping. And I couldn't be more excited to welcome Amanda Russell to the show. You've seen her before, of course, on Fit, Strong, Sexy. She's an award-winning YouTube star, very accomplished entrepreneur, and even professor. Thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. How exciting. Amazon TV.
Amazon.
That's very cool.
Very cool. What's even cooler is that I know your book is available on Amazon for pre-order right now.
It is. It is just available now for pre-order in the hard copy. Although I think it actually is coming. It's on. I think if you order it today, it's on its way. I think, but the Kindle version is live. This is my first Amazon product.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
This is absolutely huge. I know that Andy Roddick is hosting a very special launch party for you if you pre-order, right?
He is. So if you pre-order the book today and you send a screenshot or post a screenshot with the hashtag influencer code on Twitter or Instagram or LinkedIn, we will get in touch with you and give you an invite to the virtual launch party.
Fabulous. I'm so excited.
Me too. It's been a long time coming, I have to say.
Well, you've spent decades not only perfecting your art as an athlete, but also in marketing, influencer marketing, to be very specific. So tell me a little bit about your journey from becoming, an award-winning track star to an accomplished author and entrepreneur.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's funny because most people, my online profile as a marketer is not aligned with kind of my journey, because I think what you still see is that I had a fitness brand, which is true. I sold that company, and the whole reason for it was one of the first online fitness subscription models. This was before Instagram was a thing.
You were the OG.
It was the original. Before you could just have a website or build a subscription model, there was no template for it. So that was a learning experience. And I actually started it as a business school project. I'm doing a marketing MBA, and with the whole idea that you can have the best product, service, or idea in the world, but if you don't have an audience, it doesn't matter. So I bought a flip cam. This was before cell phones even took video, and I started a YouTube channel. But the issue for me was that I never wanted to be the one in front of the camera. I used myself because that's what I had, and I did fitness because that's what I knew. But it could have been anything, and so I then spun out and started an agency that specialized specifically in creating content and marketing strategy and branding for online platforms, specifically in the fitness and wellness space. So like when Women's Health Magazine or Livestrong, when they were starting to create video content and like go online and programming, that's what we did. And I became kind of obsessed with this idea of how do you drive traffic, how do you grow, especially as it's getting more and more competitive, and social media is not what it was anymore.
Well, influencer marketing was one of the buzziest terms
Still is.
the past decade, but it's also very misunderstood.
Yes, and that and it's almost nails on a chalkboard when somebody's like, "Oh, influencer marketing," or "You wrote a book on influencer marketing," so but you're not an Instagram star, and I'm like, it actually is nothing about social media is not influencer marketing. Social media is a communication channel. Influence is not new. It has become a term and a big rise because of the hyperfragmentation of the market and the democratization of social media that anybody can be a producer. So it makes it very, very hard to stand out, which is why now having influence is so important. And influence is very different than attention. And that's what everyone's getting confused with. Like, following, size of audience does not equal influence. Popularity, not influence.
Or engagement.
Engagement.
What's really interesting I found about this book, though, too, is that it's not for influencers. It's not for the Instagram stars. Really, it's focused on the business and the brand and how to utilize influencer marketing. So can you speak to that a little bit and finding, the right influencer or the right way in which a brand or a business can utilize that?
Yeah, it's definitely more of a business strategy, and it's more, I would say, B2B, but it's not that it's not for an influencer. Yes, you're right in that if you're looking to be an Instagram or social media star, it's not going to be what you think. And this is the book that goes with my curriculum, and why I wrote it was because I designed a course on this, and I'll say this about the book, because I say this class 1 is, if you guys came in here thinking that you're going to get a class on social media, you're in the wrong room. There are courses on social media. I've taught social media marketing. It's very different. Social media is a tool to execute, but influencer marketing is starting for, it's a business strategy. It's number one, you have to know what your end goal is. So like to have a viral video is, okay, that's great. And that's the problem, right? It's like clients, brands are like, well, we need to be on Instagram. We need to be on these things. We need to have a viral campaign. But none of that matters if it doesn't correlate to the bottom line. So there's a lot of wasted time and money. We need to really understand who is our audience and what are the factors that are influencing them. And those are not necessarily even people. Some of the strongest influencers are brands and organizations. So if I told you, and I'm sure everybody pitches their idea to you. So if I told you that I am developing in the next app, I'm sure you've heard this before, right? And you're like, here we go.
Here we go, another person with another app.
With another, yeah. And you're kind of like, it all just kind of goes like this after that. But if I told you I'm developing app, and Google's funding it, all of a sudden,
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, all of a sudden you're tuned in, right? You're like, oh wait, this is legit. That's it. Google's an influencer. Do people do this anymore? At the bookstore. And you're like, you know what, I just want a beach read. I do this all the time because I love hard copies. And I'm like, I don't know this one from this one, but you know what? This one's got like, this is so ridiculous, a Reese Witherspoon book club sticker on it.
Sold.
I don't even know if that means it any better, but that sticker just made it pop, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's figuring out, and it's also your career. So it's okay. Where do you want to be in your career? It's not the smartest person in the room that gets the promotion. It's not the best idea for a company that gets the investment. It's who has the ability to tap into, have influence over the audience being the investors, the audience being the board of directors, whatever that is. That's how I was able to sell my company to a bunch of Wall Street men, was being able to figure out, okay, what matters to them, what's going to influence their behavior, how do I speak their language.
So how did you do that though? Seriously, Amanda. I mean, how did you really learn that language and to truly connect? Because that's really the art behind having influence, is knowing who's in the room and speaking their language. Yeah,
you have to because we are in a culture that everything has to be done fast, and that everything is like, we confuse a campaign with a strategy. And a campaign is not, it's marketing strategy, whether it's yourself or whether it's a business, is a long game. You have to play the long game. And too many times, especially the way that even agencies are set up to fail, because they're set up for we're gonna do a 6-month campaign, we're gonna do, but the brands that grow build this foundation. It's like building a house versus setting up a tent. And so when I say that, it means that you have to really take the whole middle part of the book, which is step 2 of the code, it's a twofold process, which is number 1, spending the time to get to know your audience, whether your audience is like the the old club. I'm thinking of a certain example in my head. Like when I pitched the Plaza Hotel, it was like this old stuffy board, and how do you convince them that you're gonna do bridal boot camp in their ballroom, and they're gonna like put on a party for you that could cost $100,000, but they're just gonna throw one for you. Because you have to spend the time. You cannot ask for something. You have to figure out what it is, who you're in front of, what matters to them, and how you can create an opportunity for them that's legitimately mutually beneficial. Because if it's not legitimately mutually beneficial and have their motives aligned, no one will ever work with you again. So that vague term of authenticity, I don't like to define that word, but I have to say that it's like that word is. And I asked this is a great example. My students, day one, because they're all like, I'm like, what does that mean to be what does that mean? And they're like, you have to be authentic. Who can define authentic? Well, like it's kind of real, I guess. Throw the definition out the window. Can you tell when somebody really wants to be there?
It's a feeling.
Yeah.
Authenticity is a feeling.
You can tell when someone's faking it. Yes.
And if you can't,
yeah, and there's like the je ne sais quoi, like I can't tell why I didn't like that person. I can't tell why I didn't trust them. You just feeling. Yeah, there is something, I can't put my finger on it. And so you have to do that in business too. You have to really develop the relationship. And it's like you wouldn't go out and just like get married, right? Like if I said to you, okay, go, oh, he looks great. Jez, I think that the goal here is to get married, so how fast can you get 6 months? You gotta get a ring on it, right? You wouldn't do that, or wouldn't probably work.
She must be friends with my mother.
It probably wouldn't work out very well. But that's what we're doing with business is we're like, okay, we've got this timeline, and it's not like, okay, we're just gonna like do this forever, but we're confusing goals with objectives. So we're confusing the finish line with the mile markers. So we need to first figure out what is that goal and then work backwards, and spending the time to really figure out who is that audience we need to influence and what matters to them and how we're gonna develop those relationships in a way that appeals to both parties.
So now that you've got your first product on Amazon, what is your goal and what are your next objectives?
Yeah, so the goal of the book was actually didn't come across as like I was going to try to write a book. It was that I was developing curriculum because I was like, this is so important for business. I wish that I had learned this. And my whole career has been such that it's like all been about partnerships and how to find the right partner or how to appeal to somebody. And I almost get thrilled by this challenge of like, oh yeah, but try to go form a partnership with Lamborghini. Yeah, right. But okay, really? Let's see how we can do it. And then, okay, who are the gatekeepers to get in the door? And how do we do that? So I became obsessed and I was like, wow, that is probably one of the most important skills in business. So I developed a course on it. And then I was looking for material and there was nothing in the subject that talked about it in that way. And there was also, and anything that is written is like article forms, and it's usually very, I hate to say this, agency biased or brand biased, but something that was non-biased, that was really talking about the longer game, the bigger picture, versus like, here's how to build an Instagram campaign, which is a thing too, but your Instagram campaign will land way more amplified if you launch it on a foundation. That's why you have all these campaigns that fail. They haven't built the foundation. So I wrote the book to go as text for curriculum. And my goal is to build the curriculum, it is being built right now, it's the first ever minor degree in influencer marketing. And influencer marketing being more than not social media, but it's a concentration, and so I've been working on building that out, and then building that out into several schools. So I think we're working with, right now I'm in talks with, well, we've already been working with Harvard and University of Texas, and University of Stockholm, University of Copenhagen, Bocino in Italy. University of Toronto. We're all over in terms of putting this as a minor degree. So that's, to me, I feel like I was given a lot of opportunities that I sort of created for myself, but that the bigger purpose here was to help others. I look at other, like some students, and I'm like, oh my God, you could do that, but you just don't know how to figure out how to get yourself in the door. Like, you don't realize the opportunity that's there because you don't realize how actually easy it is if you would take the time to figure it out.
What a gift you're giving them, though, to that have the opportunity to be in those rooms and to recognize that for themselves.
Well, sometimes it's just a way of thinking. It involves a change of a paradigm shift in how you think about approaching things. But once you hit that shift in approaching things, it changes the way you look at everything.
Did you have that shift in your life, that aha moment when you realized?
Oh yeah, I had to because I was in a position where I had lost everything, and I was not even American, and I had to become, when you don't have a safety net and you're hungry, like literally hungry as well, it makes you resourceful on a superhuman level, and I needed to make things happen, like legitimately needed to, and I needed to figure it out, and that's when things started to click. And then as one happens, it's almost like a leapfrog where I'm like, well, and when you have nothing to lose, like when you have no ego, it opens a lot of doors because you're not afraid to take that risk. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people don't do things because they're too proud, or they don't realize how close it might actually be. But I used to call it collaboration all the time. And I think what drove me more insane and more passionate about the subject was that it was the people when I was starting out that wouldn't give me the chance or the time, and that give it, maybe it was an issue in childhood, who knows, in therapy what they say about that, but
that drove you?
Yeah, it was yes, it was the opportunities, the people that took the chance, but it was more the ones that could have and didn't, because whatever, too busy to all of these things, and I never wanted to be that kind of person. And I just remember thinking, like, why? There's no competition in this world. Like, we could all be exponentially bigger if we collaborate. I would help you.
How much better would the world be if we were?
And at the end of the day, to me, so call it influencer marketing, brand partnerships, human partnerships, because business is relationships. No one operates in a silo, in a vacuum. So nobody can have a business without humans.
If you could thank that person and your acceptance speech for winning life,
That's a good question.
Yeah, who would that be for you?
Well, I don't. Oftentimes, it's people that that were the roadblocks for me, and so I think about them. There's a small roster in my head that I think those
we
were
salute you.
Yep. Thank you for not opening those doors, because you drove me. But there were several in different ways. Some were friends, some were mentors, some were people that just took the chance. Like, my partners here at Trium Entertainment here in Los Angeles, Mark Coops, who is still one of the partners there. He's one of the creators behind Biggest Loser, Amazing Race, and I pitched to him to be my business partner to build out the first subscription model. I think he almost had a nervous breakdown as well when we did it, but he did. He took the risk on me after about a year of me badgering, and that was probably one of the greatest experiences for me, even just aligning with somebody like that. Jesse Itzler, who wrote the foreword of my book, he gave me some pretty big, he supported me a lot in a lot of the stuff that I did. He will tell you stories about things that I did in New York to make money. And
we'll save those for the pages of the book.
Yeah, and for exposure and whatever. So though there's lots. I don't think there's that's probably a chapter of thank yous, and for different reasons.
Many people have said that there is a crack in the glass ceiling now. Recent news, there is a woman who is going to be the head of Citibank, which is very exciting.
Yes.
And I've always thought of you as a very powerful woman, Amanda.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm wondering, for other young women out there who want to crack through that ceiling, who want to be able to pitch to that room of Wall Street men or that stuffy Plaza Hotel, what advice would you give to women specifically on really being a pioneer for their own business and their own art?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcast stuff, and I always, when people give these kind of answers, I a lot of times I'm like, I feel like they're not very I wanted something to take away, right? Like what's really gonna,
Right.
like not just, empower yourself and all this kind of stuff.
Cliche or fluff.
Yeah,
but-
and I'm thinking like, what would really, for me, it would probably make like figure out, which is this sounds probably as cliche as it did, but I actually made my class do this week. Figure out, look at yourself 10 years down the road. And don't think about a job title, but think about what do you want your life to look like. So do you want, and I think that's the biggest question mark, not just for young people, but for a lot of people, is like, I don't really know, because we're in this economy of like a jack of all trades, and there's not one job title. Your job title probably what you do today is probably not even invented yet. Like there's so many things. And so we get like overwhelmed and not sure where to go with that. And so I think the best, like most helpful thing is to throw this job titles and brand, all these things out the window, and like look forward and like legitimately take a second and think, what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to be in a big city? First of all, do I want to be in America? Do I want to be in a European small village? Do I want to work a 9-to-5 type of job? Do I like a desk? Do I want to be on my feet all day? Do I want to be the freedom of a 24/7 job comes with a different kind of non-freedom because you're always tied to it. So looking at that, and then what kind of people or culture do you want to work with? Because your first job's not going to be your last job. Different these days, but
Yeah,
garnering.
you're not going to work for the same company like our
No.
parents did our entire lives and retire at 62.
Yeah. My parents in a nutshell.
Mine too.
Right, and I think that we have to not be scared to take steps towards that don't necessarily look like you're moving forward. And I think that's a big scare for a lot of people, especially coming from certain parents or having a certain kind of degree or a certain image of yourself that you're like, oh, and I'm embarrassed to say what I'm doing is like, oh, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I think you have to take steps sometimes that you don't want to take or that seem like they're backwards in order to move forwards. And
That's so powerful. You should repeat that again, because
Yeah.
I think even for me that resonates so deeply, is sometimes when I do take a step back just to slow down or just to reflect, sometimes it feels like I am going backwards rather than pushing ahead and forcing ahead, rather than giving myself the time and the space I need.
Yeah, and like and sometimes we don't take the time to be like, so why am I doing
this?
all of this? Like I've found myself in many situations where I'm like, wait a second, I'm hustling and hustling, but I don't know, like, is this all, maybe if it's better if I just stop. But I think that probably the biggest misconception, and I'm gonna get probably torn apart for saying this, there's this whole movement of like, you gotta go after your passion. I do not believe that. I think that if I would have gone after my passion, I would never have gotten anywhere, because I probably would have, and I said this before, I say this in a lot of interviews, I would be sitting by the beach. And when it gets hard, I would have been like, no thank you. A lot of things I did were things that I did not want to do, to put my time in, because I knew that I would play the long game. And
So how did you get through that, doing the things you didn't want to do with the long game in mind?
because I had the end goal. And so, and being a competitive distance runner, it's probably the best analogy, because I'm sorry, but nobody likes pounding out mile after mile. It is miserable.
Yeah,
There's
I would never
nothing.
do it.
Yeah, no, it is miserable.
It's
And
not
everyone's
for
like,
me.
"Oh, it's so great! You loved running." I'm like, "Loved it. Fuck, I hated running. Like,
Really?
Oh God!" But it was a means for me. It was the ticket out of my hometown. It was a ticket to the U.S. It was my career. It was all of these things, and I had these goals. But it wasn't that I loved doing it, and that to me was the same thing in real life. Was like, okay, I don't have parents that can support me. I don't have like a safety net. I don't even have any relatives in this country. I don't have, I need to do these steps, and they're going to involve, like, I know that I need to get a certain amount of corporate work experience with a major brand name in order for me to go to business school, and in order for me to have the pedigree. Did I like crunching numbers and working for a consulting firm? And actually, I wonder if Marianne's watching this. Marianne Paco is the CEO of the Kantar Group, which was Kantar Millward Brown. which was my first job that took the chance on me in New York. And she just announced, I don't know if I should, she just announced that she's stepping down after many years as the CEO, and she was a big idol of mine and untouchable at the time. And I worked for that firm, and I hated every minute of it.
I appreciate your honesty.
It was terrible. It was terrible. It was a lot. And she says, "You're a data scientist." Like, it was just crunching numbers, and I wanted to die in my cube every day. But it was with health insurance. It was a pedigree. It was all of these things. It allowed me to live in Manhattan. So I think you have to do certain things like that to get to where you want to go. And yeah, it's going to take you longer. But it's kind of the idea of like, would you rather like have a one night stand, or would you rather like, you know, build a solid foundation and like take your time? And it's okay if you get married at 50 for your first time. Like, who cares? Because you know what? Those are probably the happiest people you ever met.
Yeah.
Which it's an analogy, but it seems to be true for people I know.
So what's next for you, Amanda?
Gosh, so many things. I'm working on a documentary, actually on the mind of elite female athletes and what happens to them after their careers. I'm working with two partners on creating this curriculum that we can put into business schools and advertising faculties all over the world. And I'm going to continue. I started teaching at the university level really to test my curriculum, and it has been the biggest gift I've ever had. And you know, I never thought I wanted kids. I still don't think I want kids. I don't think I need them now, because I've got on any given day 200, and I think it is one of the most rewarding. So I think that for the rest of my life, until like I'm like unable or like, you know, not until my marbles have fallen out, I am going to teach at least one class a semester, because it keeps me like it keeps me sharp, and you end up really like, there's a greater purpose. And I think Jezlan, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I was not like because it feels good, and like I wish I was more that way. I mean, it makes me spirit happy. I was the furthest from that. I was like, how do we make money? How do we and then
Black and white, by the book.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And I started teaching, and I love like I'm too involved almost sometimes with like and it's more work than anything I've ever done. Lecturing, I have to say, shocking to me. Like, I have a new respect, but you get so invested in these, like, you know, kids' lives. Some of them are not kids, but kids' lives. So I think that is, if anybody can teach. My dad was a school teacher, and I remember thinking, oh God, I would never, for those who can't do, and stuff like that. And I think it's the greatest thing on the planet. So
I'm so happy that you've found that and you're able to give back in the way that you do.
Oh, well, it's, I actually, it sounds cliche, but I don't feel like it's giving back. I feel like that's been my gift. And it's been the thing that has fueled me and made me the happiest of all of the things I've ever done in my life. Teaching has been the one thing that I feel like it's like a light bulb. Like, it was like oh my God, I hit my stride. This is what I should be doing.
Wow. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
On
It's
that.
been so fun.
And of course,
Thank you
your
for having
voice.
me.
Yes,
and for
of
you guys
course.
watching this, like Jezlan, Amazon, you should, this is what you need.
Oh, thank you.
So no,
I really do appreciate that.
you know, it's
means a lot to
true.
me.
This is, and if to talk about hustle, like, I mean, you and the producer here can tell everyone the hard worker hustle right here.
We've been non-stop, that is for sure. Remember, we are #EverTogether. Be sure to pick up an advanced order copy of the Influencer Code. Thank you again, Amanda. Stay safe, stay well. Let Amazon deliver your packages. We'll see you next time.
Bye.